Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lady Arcader's first Game Development Jam recap session. My name is Tozzle, and I will be your host for the next 4 evenings. This event runs from today, November 14th, until Sunday, November 17th. So, starting tonight, and then also on Friday and Saturday at 9 p.m., the Lady Arcaders stream will be providing updates on the status of everyone's games. Then, on Sunday, each team will have until 8 p.m. to submit their games, which will then be showcased live on this channel at 9 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who are new to the Game Jam scene, a Game Jam is an event where groups of people of varying skill levels in graphic design, programming, writing, music composition, and you name it, come together to work on making a game from scratch, which is incredible. I'm so excited. The theme for the Lady Arcaders Game Development Jam, aka the Lag Jam, is lag. Teams are encouraged to take lag as a concept literally or figuratively and use it however they wish to guide their game's creation. So the Lag Jam officially kicked off this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That is only, 11 hours ago? This is great. This is why this is why Game Jams are awesome. Teams will have until Sunday, November 17th at 8 p.m. So that's 82 hours total to develop and submit their games for the final showcase. That said, just so you all know, teams were encouraged to meet before the event to establish a conceptual framework, form a plan, and brainstorm ideas. And tonight, I'm so excited to say that we'll have 5 teams joining us this evening to share updates on their game's development. I am so ready for this. So to start us off tonight, team number 1 here, I'm joined by Char Bunny and MJ Pastelis from Team 101.7, The Team FM. Welcome in. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing good. Great to chat with you. How are you doing?
We're doing
I'm
pretty
just
good as
excited.
well.
I am too. Oh, wait, sorry. I should do our official team intro. You're listening to 101.7, The Team FM, featuring Char, Mel, MJ, Snowball, and Tora. Out of our team, 2 of us are here today. It's myself, Char, and MJ. Super excited to talk to you about our game, what we've been up to, and show a little bit of what's happened behind the scenes since the start of the Game Jam. Like you said, 10 hours ago? So,
Yes.
11 hours?
11
Depending
hours.
on what time our team got out of bed this morning. Some of us started different times. But yeah, so let's talk about our game concept. So the Game Jam is Lag Jam, and we took this in a little bit more literal direction. So we're going to get rid of that word jam because it's not important to us. And we're going to focus on lag. And the way we did this is our game's concept of lesbians, androids, guns. That's it. 3 words. Simple title. Easy to remember. Lesbians, androids, guns. So let's talk about how we take this conceptually and turn it into an actual game. So picture this. A lonely android wakes up in a decrepit lab. She doesn't remember falling asleep. She goes to check on her friends, only to find they've all gone haywire. Can she help her fellow androids and possibly find love along the way? We'll have to see if that works out for her. Now, this is a pretty general intro concept, so let's get into a few of the details of what we'd like to go ahead and build. Our genre is going to be an RPG. The goal is to walk around, help people out, help them get back to normal, so lots of dialogue, lots of maps, going to be pretty fun. We're considering adding in some arcade-type mini-games, but, we've got 80 hours, less than that, something like that left, so we'll see how far we get over the course of the weekend. The player character is Cordelia, a lesbian android who really wants to find her true love. And her goal is to help calm down all the haywire androids that are now all over this abandoned lab, so plenty of work to do. Tozzle, what do you think about this game, this concept, what we've got so far?
I am actually very excited about this, but I do have some questions.
Okay,
if you're
all right.
willing to answer them.
Throw them at us. We're ready.
I'm very curious. What inspired your team to choose an RPG game style? Like, are there certain elements from RPGs that you're drawing inspiration from, or tell us about the process?
The process was our team came up with the name Lesbians, Androids, and Guns, and we're like, how are we going to make a video game out of this? So it definitely fell in love with the name. I think that was it Mel, MJ, who came up with that, or am I misremembering?
It was Mel.
It was Mel.
Yeah, the
All
credit
right.
goes to Mel.
Credit to Mel for coming up with the name. And so we were thinking about how do we put this together. We were thinking about different games that we've played that we like playing, and something like Undertale came to mind, where little loose, little silly, lots of moving around, talking to people. And we've developed sort of away from the super heavy fighting concept into something a little more collaborative and exploratory. But it's this concept of how do we tell a story that we want to tell? And for us, we really wanted to focus on things like character artwork and dialogue. And telling a story with an RPG gives us a lot of opportunities to do that. Now, this is also a game jam, so we had to keep in mind what do we think is practical to do over the course of one weekend? And walk around and talk to characters seemed like a pretty doable concept. So balancing out that exciting ideas and what we like to do, how we can convey our story with what is practical in the next 82 hours.
I just did some quick calculations here, and now we've got 71 hours remaining. So no
Okay,
pressure
all
at
right.
all. But
We have plenty of work left to do, but we'll keep going on it. Did you have any other questions for us?
yeah, like I obviously I love your title, by the way, lesbians, androids, guns. Like I'm ready to play it. Like that's all I need. I'm sold. Sign me up. But I'm
I'm
wondering, like
glad.
obviously you're taking that very literally, but
Mhm.
are you incorporating any other lag or thinking of incorporating any other lag elements into the gameplay itself? Like, do you have any ideas for that?
Ah, something open to as we come up with these different characters and sort of what it means to go haywire. Each character kind of has something different that's going on with them. Some characters are very focused on one thing, some characters are acting much differently than normal, some characters are just maybe a little bit lonely. And so we can think about how we want to potentially incorporate the theme of lag into other scenes, but our primary tie-in is going to be via our title.
Okay, I love it. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. MJ, did you have anything you wanted to add? Sorry, I'm taking all the questions. I'm stealing them.
You're much better at this than I am, so I'm perfectly fine with it.
Oh, we're collaborative
You're
teamwork.
wonderful.
But no, yeah, no, that's the crux of it, really. We've been working, we are still working hard on like figuring out all the particulars, and who knows, maybe we'll see some more immediate ties as to the theme, but right now it's mostly the title.
Maybe I'm just reading into it too much, or I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been thinking a lot about this game jam for the last little while. But I actually feel that the type of characters that you've described to me, because they're kind of they sound like different and contrasting from each other, it kind of like embraces lag and it's like the idea of lag, which to me can be sort of a lot of things and a lot of like the opposites at the same time. I don't know. I'm getting like maybe too existential, but I feel like it's there. I think it's wonderful.
Cold read on it. Is there anything else you'd like to learn about the game, or do you want to see a sneak peek of maybe one of our early areas that we're brainstorming up?
Let's see the sneak peek. I'm really excited to see
Okay, all
this.
right. So what I want to walk you through is a little behind the scenes peek at the mainframe, which is one of our areas in the game. Where does this go in terms of the order? Who knows? That's the problem for tomorrow team. But today's team wanted to come up with at least one area to give us a centering on how we can start to get things moving. So the mainframe. Now, the way that we're building this up is we started by just brainstorming some concepts. So key things for us is what character is this scene themed around? Those characters that we're helping are a big part of our game, so we wanted to make sure we really bring them to life. In this case, our key character for this area is a CRT monitor type character who is stuck in the 90s, maybe lagging behind the times, if you will.
Oh, perfect.
See,
Amazing.
we can
Excellent.
make this work. And our concept here is like a mainframe or server room in this laboratory. We want each area to have its own feel, so picking a type of room that would exist in a lab is one way for us to give each area its own character. This also, we thought, might provide nice contrast between the more outdated CRT technology and maybe the shinier, polished version of a more mainstream server room nowadays. In terms of mechanically what we need from this location and its layout is 3 doors, a way for us to get in, the character has to enter the room, a way for them to exit so they can make progress in the game and they don't just get stuck here forever, and then potentially an extra area that's a little more exploratory. Maybe V1 doesn't have that yet, but that's somewhere else we can go with this. And then in terms of the size, the specs of the room, it's meant to feel like an entryway, an atrium, somewhere where you're really just going to meet this new character and really get a sense of who they are and what they're looking for. So we kind of just kept it as a basic rectangle. Now, these are a whole bunch of words, but the next thing we did is we tried to lay it out in sort of a placeholder mock-up. So this is what my art skills amount to, which is basically, here's an idea of how this layout could work. So here's different entrances, those blue arrows. Here's a way to make the rectangle feel more alive, feel like there's more obstacles, feel like there's more navigation and exploration, which sticking a bunch of server racks in there because it's a mainframe, and then possible locations for like A, our character that we want to meet, and B, maybe an item that we need to help them along in their journey. What was magical for me is, again, these are my art skills. What Snowball from our team did is went and actually today was able to turn this into a background that looks like it actually belongs in a video game,
What?
which is so
That's
cool. So
incredible.
yeah, this is like our mainframe area here. And I love some of the details that Snowball put into this. So if you'll notice, like the floor tiles are all cracked because this lab really is falling apart. And as well, a smaller detail I really love is on those different servers, not all of them have all the lights on. A couple things are maybe falling apart. This lab has seen better days. So really trying to bring out this individualized character to the room with the different servers to show that this is a mainframe, while still giving that overall location vibe of a decrepit, somewhat abandoned lab. Kind of what we're trying to go for here. And I think Snowball captured that beautifully. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is the way our locations work is, again, it's not just about where you are, but who's there with you. That's a really key focus for us. So we've got a little bit of something special. The next screen is very much placeholder art. Please ignore, again, my art skills. But we want to actually showcase some dialogue between some of the characters in the game, since that's a big part of RPGs. So for this dialogue, we're going to be attempting some live voice acting. Wish us luck.
Good luck.
And I know it's gonna be something. I'm gonna be Mackenzie, who is the CRT monitor on the right side of the screen, and MJ, you're gonna be Cordelia, who is our main character, right?
Yep.
All right. So here we go. Scene here is Cordelia has just walked into the mainframe and is starting to meet Mackenzie. So I'll kick things off. Yo, dude, welcome to my crib. Are you here to chillax with your girl, Mackenzie? I've been here all by myself for way too long, and it's getting me hella lonely. Not radical at all.
Mackenzie, you seem quite expressive. Are you feeling okay?
Oh yeah, everything's aight. Not? I just keep thinking to myself, Mackenzie, you're such a cool dog. So why don't I feel like a cool dog?
I'm not sure I understand.
I'm just vibing in here, being the wicked badass girl that I am, but like, where's the flavor? It's so not cool. I'm totally wigging out. I need something radical to get me back in the zone.
He's not making sense. If I can find something to really shock our system, maybe we can figure this mess out together.
And there we go. There's an example of some dialogue between two of the characters in our game. Credit to MJ for writing the dialogue in this scene and packing an incredible amount of 90s references into just a short number of lines.
I would like to note that I did not live through the 90s, so this was an experience to write.
That was incredible. That was amazing. I have to know though. Okay, so you know
Okay.
how a lot of indie games, because voice acting isn't, it just can't be like every line. Are you thinking? Are you considering? Maybe doing the voice acting the first instance of this meeting, and then text thereafter, or what do you think? I mean, you
I
might have
think
yeah,
the, the
it could be
project
your
manager
future.
in me is trying to be very careful about the scope of this game. So at this point, there is no plans to do any amount of voice acting. It's very much like, let's get the text in, let's get some of these character sprites up and running to really convey that emotion. Ideally, we then start to throw some sound effects in. And if we just get a lot of time on Sunday and nothing better to do, maybe we'll throw some voice acting at it. But for now, that's a special treat for those of you watching the showcase today. You got exclusive content, so I hope you enjoyed.
I certainly enjoyed the exclusive content. That was incredible. Thank you both for that.
So the only other thing to share is that we will have more coming tomorrow. This is just our first, I think you said 11 hours of work. And half of our team did unfortunately have day jobs today, which is great for economy reasons, awful for productivity reasons. So we're optimistic that we'll have some new things, some new aspects of this game we'll get to highlight. So keep your dial tuned in to 101.7 The Team FM.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, that was truly amazing. And I love the fact that you're incorporating your whole radio voice into your team. um,
we're having a good time. I think our team is really working well together. There's so many different people who've contributed so far. Like you got to see MJ's dialogue work, you got to see Snowball's art. I think tomorrow you may get to see more from Mel, who's handling our programming. Tora's working on some of the character art, which I think will really help bring some of these colorful characters to life. So we're just really excited to be on the ground running, working towards a concept that we're excited about. And yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend.
That's great. I can feel it. I can feel it. And I'm excited too. I'm excited to see what's coming more tomorrow.
Awesome. I think
You
that's it for us. Any final questions?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you hit them all. I was going to ask if you had any wins or aha learning moments that you'd like to share to close us out from today.
Ooh. um, I'll leave a teaser one in that I don't even know if it's going to make the final game.
Oh,
It turns out when you say that your android has a real heart, half the team thinks that that's a metaphor, and half the team is picturing a physical beating human heart. I'll just leave that there. That was a fun
perfect.
discussion today.
That's
I was very
incredible.
confused today. I was like, I yeah.
We figured it out.
I love that. Thank you. But
All right,
yeah,
well,
I'd like to thank you both again for joining us and sharing that sneak peek of your game. I'm really looking forward to future updates. I think we're going to take a quick break while we get our next team in the studio. So please have a stretch, hydrate, grab some snacks if you need to, but stick around because we will be back shortly to recap more of today's Lag Jam. Hello and welcome back to Lady Arcaders and our first game development jam recap session. I am now joined by Miss Des Games from Team Compact Qualia, who will be sharing some information about their game's development. Welcome on in.
Hi there. It's wonderful to be here tonight. Uh, we are working on a project that we're calling Look, a Game. It's kind of a timed survival experience where you're trying to collect items around the apartment to get ready to go out for your night. And this is kind of the apartment space that I've been working on developing for us today in Blender. We've got a few different rooms to be able to move through and find different things. I've been working on modeling a few different objects for us. And it's kind of an inventory management sort of game where you're going to be finding different things around the house. You're going to have your phone going off, reminding you about different things and different people talking to you about the night. So yeah. What kind of questions do you have for me?
That is very cool. Can I see a look again at your the apartment?
Yeah.
I really like this. So, okay, I know this is like low hanging fruit here, but is this like a one bedroom apartment are you envisioning or I just
Yeah,
am
yeah.
kind of curious about the
So
number of rooms you're thinking of incorporating.
Yep. So this room that we're kind of sitting in right now is going to be the bedroom. This room over here, where my mouse is pointing, is going to be a bathroom. We have a walk-in closet back over in this corner. This front room here is going to be like the kitchen, and we'll have a little living room area here.
Oh, that is wonderful. I really like this. I'm a huge puzzle game, I would say, fan. I love them. And I have to ask, I'm probably going to be asking a similar question to all the teams out there. What inspired you to work specifically on a puzzle game? Like what elements of the puzzle game interest you to try to create one of your own?
Well, we both had a big interest, my partner and I, in like Myst as, one of those old point and click kind of games that were a little puzzly adventure-y. Um,
Yes.
so we kind of wanted to like kind of cross something like that with a little bit of like Silent Hill 2 kind of vibes. And
Oh,
so like it's not meant to be like super scary. There's not going to be monsters or anything. It's just going to be a story where we're kind of we both have ADHD and we're kind of going to be poking a little bit at that and what it's like to deal with trying to get ready for an event and things like that sometimes.
Oh, that's very cool. And this is very topical or timely for me, I feel, because I'm actually not a horror person, but recently I decided to start playing Silent Hill 2, like actually finish a horror game. I've never finished a horror game in my life, and I just started Silent Hill 2. So I find it fascinating that you're drawing some inspiration from Silent Hill 2. That's very, very cool. Did
Yeah.
we introduce your partner's name? I'm not sure if we heard it.
Oh, no, I hadn't yet. Her name's Mia, and she's been working with me on game dev stuff, just 5, 6 months, something like that now. We
Oh,
did
very
a
cool.
game jam earlier this year and produced a project that we called Biome Flash, which you can check out on itch.io. Um, and we're gonna revisit that and like flesh it out a little bit more. But
Very
yeah,
neat. I like that you're incorporating like something very personal also into your game and into a game genre that you're also interested in. That's very, very neat. Um, does this okay, so you've got some items that you're working on. I guess is this a side table here or like a
yeah.
shelf?
So this is kind of like a little like nightstand end table kind of thing. And one of the tasks that I have to do for development is help with defining spots where other items can sit on this object. So
Mhm.
I'm going to be working on making some like collision boxes so stuff won't drop through it and the player won't run through it kind of thing. And then we're also going to be working on creating some scripts and classes for these items to interact with each other. So like we've got some scripting that she's worked on a little bit today, my partner Mia. Um, so a few things to still get built out, but we're going to be using a lot of stuff that we've been kind of picking up in our game dev journey, where we're learning more about how to make components and use different resources to be able to like piece together a game a little bit more easily.
Yeah. I mean, this is all super impressive. Can I also get a look at your little character that you had? I know you showed it a little bit earlier. I just wanted to see
Yeah,
what it looks
sure.
like. I'm
So
new to this sort of stuff, so it's neat to learn how, like how you start, developing your items and your characters. So this is very cool.
so
So
this
this is
is
your
actually
person.
the player character. You won't really see yourself very much, so you're just going to be a bean, a capsule with a camera.
Oh, neat. So
Um,
that it's first person.
yep, it's going to be first person. You're going to move around with tank controls.
Oh, of course, Silent Hill 2. There you go. Horror game, old horror game. That's where
So
that
you
comes in
can
a
move
bit.
forward or backward, or you can rotate, but you can't do both at the same time.
Very neat.
And you'll have your phone kind of going off, and it'll kind of give you little reminders. The player will have little thought bubble kind of things going across the middle of the screen, representing their sort of thoughts and reaction to the situation, and kind of prompting the player to go and find new objects in the space.
That's very neat. So since it's a horror and since it's a light horror, I'll call it. Have you had some thought, maybe this is just too far advanced again for this early, but is it like timed or is it going to be that people have a certain amount of time or is it going to be like
Yeah.
open-ended?
No, it is going to be on a bit of a timer.
Okay.
We're planning on having it be like a 30-minute kind of experience where you've got 30 minutes to get ready to get out the door.
Oh, that's great. Very, very neat. You've done a lot of work and a lot of thinking on this already. It's very cool. So I know we were talking also earlier about the lag theme concept, and obviously your game name draws into it greatly. Are there other elements that you're going to like I was asking the previous team in the gameplay that will draw from the lag theme? Or I mean I feel like because of your game title just puts it all together. It's kind of like a rug tying the room together. Um, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts about the event theme?
we're still kind of exploring what we can do to continue to tie in more of the theme into some of the gameplay aspects. Like there will kind of be some inherent lag time with some of the animations that we're going to be playing. So like as you move around the space, you'll be able to click on an object to interact with it, and it'll play like a little animation of the object getting closer and then start to rotate around, and the player will give like a thought about the object, and then you can either add it to your inventory or put it back down.
That's really neat. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that with me. Um, do you, from today, I know we only had 11 hours to work on this, but um, did you feel like you had any particular wins or learning moments that you would like to share with the people watching our showcase today?
I've been teaching myself Blender this past week. I've only really like started modeling with that program recently. I've known how to do some other 3D modeling, but like learning some of the shortcuts for Blender has been really, really useful to be able to like knock together this apartment pretty quickly. I had really just kind of done one big tutorial that was like an hour-long video to get through, but uh, like just being able to figure out different ways to manipulate some of the meshes, like with a coffee table and stuff like that, it's really just squares, but like I made this really snazzy toilet
Oh, this is fantastic.
that has a couple different objects and shapes going on with it. So that's going to be in the bathroom. I hadn't cleared the color yet with Mia, so we'll see if she's down with the hot pink toilet or not. But
That'll be for a later update later this weekend.
yeah.
Well, this is wonderful. Lots of good work you've shared with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your game development, your team before we wrap up?
Um, I think that's probably about it for today, and we'll have more tomorrow for sure.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Des. Oh, this was really fun to see. I'm really excited to see what you have to bring to us tomorrow and throughout the rest of this weekend. With that, thank you again very much. We're going to take a quick break while we get our next team in the studio. So again, don't go too far, but this is your time to have a stretch, grab some snacks, go to the washroom if you need to, and we will be back shortly to recap more of today's Lag Jam. Hello and welcome back to Lady Arcaders and our first game development jam recap session. It's been a wonderful evening so far. For those of you who are new to the game jam scene, a game jam is an event where groups of people of varying skill levels in graphic design, programming, writing, music composition, you name it, come together to work on making a game from scratch. Now, the Lag Jam officially kicked off this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and teams have until Sunday, November 17th at 8 p.m. So that's 82 hours total to develop and submit their games for the final showcase. So for this first recap showcase, we are getting a look at the games that have been under development for a mere 11 hours, which is super exciting. The theme for the Lag Jam is lag. Teams are encouraged to take the lag as a concept, literally or figuratively, and use it however they wish to guide their game creations. And joining me now in the studio is Scala Kitty from Team The Accord. Welcome in. How are you doing?
I am doing really fantastic. I am so excited to be here and to talk about my game. First of all, I have sort of like two pieces of like full disclosure. Full disclosure number one, this is not my first game and not my first game jam. My first game was Diagnostics, which was done for the 2020 it was Glitches Are Queer game jam, hosted by the Edge Case Collective. And the main reason why I'm bringing that up is because the game that I'm working on for this game jam, which is called uh, um, Entanglement. Entanglement is going to be a follow-up to Diagnostics. So it's something where if you play Diagnostics first, you will definitely appreciate Entanglement a bit more. but I hope that I'll be able to make something where even if you haven't played Diagnostics, you will still be able to appreciate Entanglement. So the other sort of bit of full disclosure I'm going to give up front is because I am the only solo dev in this game jam. And because I'm writing an interactive fiction game, I was given an allowance by Crime and the organizers that I could do writing up front, but which means that I have like a decent amount of writing kind of already established for this. However, it is now my job to take all this writing and make it into a functional game. But if you're not familiar with Twine, Twine is a completely free software for writing interactive fiction games. Once you get into the software itself, there are several different um, story types that you can write in. So your different story styles. I am going to be writing in the default story style, which is Harlow. This is, I believe, 3.38 is, I think, the latest version. And it's helpful to be able to kind of, having done this once, to be able to kind of go back and do it again, just to kind of show over here in my Twine doc. This was the previous game that I did. As you can see, it is about 150 passages. It was very complicated. What I'm making for this game jam, not quite as complicated. This one is going to hopefully be the first 2 chapters of a longer story. So this is what I'm trying to do is basically create a very sort of polished, like, demo version. I'm hoping to get the first 2 chapters done. If I have time, I will try to get chapter 3 done. But for today, my goal was basically, can I sort of set up the look of this game, like the general sort of look and feel of it. So what I'm going to do, so how Twine kind of operates, it's real fancy HTML and CSS underneath the hood. With a whole bunch of different macros that are built into the system. So I can sort of show what exists. So I have basically a general, just sort of like testing page. The general conceit of this game is that in terms of like how it is organized, is it's going to be different sort of scene, like, that kind of are all linked together to form one narrative. They're going to be told in different ways. So there's going to be sections that are like reading a book. So there'll be narrative sections. And then there will also be sections that are like reading Discord, reading chat logs.
That's great.
And then the one that I've been fighting with all day today is emails. I'm trying to get this to look nice, but you'll be able to read people's emails. Will be like another way that this all kind of is like how the story kind of is going to play out for the player. There's also going to be documents to read. So today was basically making it so that way each individual type of way you'll experience the game, each one of them looks different, but there's still a level of cohesion there between them. So that's kind of where we're starting. Because I had the chance to write ahead, I have a pretty like well-rounded out cast of characters. You can see there's already like, names and indications. Our main character is going to be Phyla, who is Phyla works at a government agency in this sort of sci-fi setting that I came up with called the Accord. Phyla is an android. Most of the characters in this game are androids. There are some human characters, though. And Phyla gets assigned to work on a project called Project Jingwei, which is going to be building a prototype spaceship. So Phyla is the government contact in this equation, and then the rest of the cast are from the Corvus station. which is a station that's on like 13 light years away on the other, like in the whole other section of the galaxy. And that's where the lag comes in.
Ooh.
Because the concept of lag in this game is that it's about long distance relationships. Uh,
Okay.
so it's going to be about how Phyla kind of interacts with the Corvus crew, as they get referred to, which is our sort of, they are a very ragtag kind of group of androids. They have a whole like interesting kind of motley crew that's there as they work to basically try to make this project happen. And it'll be, if I get to the longer story, a sort of interesting thing about how Phyla connects with them, makes friendships with them, maybe something more than friendships.
Is that our
uh,
teaser?
that is your teaser. Our other main character of the Corvus crew is Acade, who is their foreman and sort of project manager. And kind of adding into the whole sort of theme of long distance relationships, my partner and I are long distance. We live about 90-minute drive apart from one another. And what I actually did is I asked them to help me design some of the characters, so that way their influence is also in this game. So my
I
partner
love
Oren,
that.
they designed a Cade, and because my partner is very predictable, a Cade is basically a transformer.
What do they transform into? Do we get that? Do we get that
Yeah.
teaser
We
as
do.
well, or
The thing is that part actually doesn't get revealed
oh,
in
okay,
this. Again, part of the lag part and part of like having a bit of like um distance kind of with this is that there are some aspects of the characters that I don't reveal until later. And so the
very
fact
neat.
that Acade is a transformer, I doesn't come up until chapter like 4. We're
Okay,
hoping
we're
to do
getting the first
chapters 1
two.
through.
Yeah.
We're getting the first 2 at least, but there are a lot of hints that Acade is. You just know for a long time that they are very tall. They're the tallest on the station, and that's sort of your big hint for a long time. But I will go. I did want to talk about the one thing that I really worked hard on today to make happen,
Yes, tell
um,
us.
and that is the random generator.
Oh,
Uh,
random generator. Am I saying
yes.
that right?
So
That's amazing. Okay,
yes,
got to hear more about this.
yes. One of the characters in the Corvus crew is Stet. Stet is the lead engineer on this project, and Stet is a very opinionated android, and they are also gender fluid. And
Amazing.
I really wanted to with this to come up with a way to have a gender fluid character where there was a certain natural random element to how they decide how they feel like expressing themselves and presenting themselves in any given passage. So that's where the random generator comes in. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So this is the debug passage. This is to make sure that it works. So
Wow.
the way that it works, and I'll kind of go back over to Twine real quick just to kind of explain. So Twine has, I need to just close it out. So Twine has a functionality called Array, where you can basically load in a whole bunch of different values, and they'll all be kind of capped in, like in an array, like in other types of mathematics. So set basically works off of a whole bunch of arrays. So the first thing that the game does when I kind of call to run the generator, uh, it picks from one of 5 vibes. So either mask, femme, NB, null, or agender, and then other.
Wow.
Once that is selected, then set will go through and, depending upon the vibe, pick what pronouns to be using. And then there's a way that I kind of weighted them. It's a, this is definitely like a, it's not hacky if it works kind of way, which is basically that there are 10 options. So, for example, I'm just clicking on mask. Of those 10 options, there are 6 chances that Stet will pick he, but there's also 2 chances for they, and then 1 chance for Z, and then, for Z as in ZE, and 1 chance for Z as in XE. And then there's also hairstyles that get picked up here in the arrays. And then there's an additional gender rater that runs once the pronouns get picked. You can see Stet has 10 different pronouns they can pick from at any given time.
I love how there's
Cool.
multiple gender raters.
Yes, well, because the first one just holds all the array information, so all the information that never changes.
Wow.
And then this actually goes through and changes all of the base global variables for them. So it changes all their pronouns, it changes their hairstyle. It also sets what their outfit is for the day.
This is
Which,
fantastic.
where Stet has different outfits depending upon their vibe. It also sets how they feel currently about their gender, which this is actually an interesting thing because the player never sees the actual base vibe. That I actually keep hidden from the player. I will have a couple of times where Stet says how they feel about themselves.
Oh,
And never
interesting.
is that an exact light up with masculine. Like if Stet is feeling masculine, they will say that they're feeling gallant or energetic or dashing, fantastic, vibrant, or capricious. They'll have different ways of
Ooh.
describing it. And then finally, they also get a vocal descriptor, which again changes depending upon how they feel. So, which is a lot of fun to try to come up with ways to indicate voice that also don't necessarily have to do with pitch. Because I kind of want that to be a little bit of something that the players can kind of fill in.
They're
So
kind of
anyway,
like filling it in with their mind. Yeah.
so now that you've kind of seen all of that, I'll go back to the actual debug passage. So you can see right now, the vibe is femme, and Stet is but Stet picked they them pronouns. And then, which is actually good that we got they, because they is an option. Every single verb that gets paired up with their pronoun also has to have an if-then statement to properly conjugate the verb.
You did all this today? This was in the last 11 hours?
I had done a little bit of fiddling just to make sure that the arrays would work, but actually getting it to work in Passage started today.
Wow. Okay. Very
So
cool.
I had built I did a little bit of fiddling just to kind of be okay, this is what these are my outfits, these are my hairstyles, these are the gender descriptions, these are the vocal descriptions. I done that part of the writing. It was then just making it was writing a bazillion if then statements.
Yeah. I'm impressed. It's really neat. It's a really
Yes.
neat addition. Yeah.
So you'll be able to, so because Stet picked them, so give me one second, I just need water. So the paragraph that it generated, I'll do my best to read, which is
Did you just
morning
say
boss.
generated? That was impressive.
Thank you. A soft voice greets Acade. Stet seems particularly determined to catch them this morning, conspicuously leaning against the bulkhead that divides the accommodation section from the actual workspace. As is now tradition, Acade answers in kind. Morning, Stet. How are you feeling today? Stet tosses off a little smile at the standardized way to ask about their current gender expression and pronouns. Thank you for asking. I'm feeling charming today, so they them please. It seems they are primed for the day, dressed in their signature lab coat tailored to their willowy figure. For today, they pair it with a pressed button-down shirt and a pencil skirt, and their long black hair is woven into a braid. Vivid blue eyes cast a glance over their glasses, and they prompt. We start on Project Jingwei today, correct? So, but because this is the debug, I can just rerun this as many times as I want. So this time I got he, him. And, I could get an NB one. I can get a fem one where Set's using V-ver pronouns. So it's really interesting kind of way to make it so that way I'm not the one who makes the decision in the end. I kind of leave a certain amount of agency to the character. Which, when you're running a game about androids, feels very correct.
Yeah, that does feel very correct.
I will say, also just all the love to the team 101 for their for lesbian androids and guns. I'm so excited for that. I will kind of go. I can go back to the hub. If I can scroll down here through the Corvus crew one. This game also has monitor girlfriends. Stet is dating an AI by the name of Cyan. And Cyan just likes to talk through monitors. She doesn't bother with hopping into an android body.
That's great.
So there's a lot of Cyan is a very fun character. She's definitely on the sort of, I don't want to quite call her like pixie dream girl, but there's a certain amount of pixie dream girl there with her. But that was very fun to write. And they get to be fun and sassy with each other, and they're a very fun couple to write with. So, but yeah, I really hope that I'm able to kind of put together at least the two chapters, since chapter one sort of sets up the story. Chapter two is where we sort of start really learning more about the Corvus crew, who I've come to very much like as characters. So I hope that everyone will like Cade and Stet and Cyan and Geo and Raymond and Odette. So
Oh,
they
I
are
mean,
they're
the sneak peek has been so good. Like, I'm excited to see where this is going to go. Like, I'm ready to play right now.
I really hope I get to chapter 3, even though chapter 3 is probably the most quote unquote inside baseball thing I've ever written, since chapter 3 is very much about, hi, welcome to really detailed a narrative about working in the government from someone who worked in the government.
Oh my goodness.
But I really do hope people will enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun to be working on, and I think it will. I hope that it gets to kind of get put together, not just this demo, but like the full version. Uh, because there are a lot of plans, but then I looked at what is time and what is energy, and I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna make the best demo I can kind of make for this story.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And of course, teams are encouraged to work on their games after the lag jam ends. And, everyone will be able to, in the future, grab everyone's games off itch.io. So even, of course, if you just get your demo out and that's it, that's fantastic. But if you continue working on it and you get the full fleshed out game in the future, it will still be there, and we'll all be excited to consume it. I have just one question
Yes.
for you, if you're open to
Sure.
it.
Yes.
Just so people have an idea about how much writing goes into this, do you have like a word count or a page count of what you've
Uh,
got going on here?
the first two chapters are about 10,000 words,
Yeah, so
roughly.
that's how long did that take you to write?
I've been writing on it for the last few weeks, roughly since we started doing the game jam workshops.
Wow.
I would sort of write it in bits and pieces. Just for reference, for the game that my previous game, I think I can get a word count off this. Uh, ah, I was looking to see if I could get a word count right off like the bat. Don't think so right off the bat, but yeah, the first game that I did, to be fair, this was one where we had like weeks to work on. It was a very long game jam. Came out to like about like a 50K novel
Yeah, I mean that's
altogether.
totally impressive. Like if you think about it, if you think you could go back, let's go back to grade school chat. When they make you write like the 500 word essay, and you're just like, oh my goodness, 500 words. So the first two chapters are roughly 10,000 words. So that's roughly
Yes.
20 of those. So if we put it in
Yes.
that context, like it's
Yes.
impressive. That's awesome. I really,
Yeah.
really loved what you were showing us today.
but in school I never got to write about androids kissing, so
Ooh, yeah. Well, hey, this is why you grow up, right? Because then you get to do the
exactly.
things you want to do.
But yeah, I highly, highly recommend looking into Twine, looking into interactive fiction. If you've never looked into it, there are some really incredible games. I will give a shout out to two of my favorites, to Open Sorcery and to Seed Ship, which are both amazing, amazing games, and they're all text.
It's wonderful.
And it's wonderful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone else is going to do. I am glad that I am not alone in giving a whole bunch of love to androids. So I'm super
Certainly
looking
not.
forward to seeing what we get in the end.
Okay, perfect. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing more recaps in the future. I hope from you, Scala. That was really wonderful. So thank you again so much for joining us. That was a wonderful sneak peek, and definitely looking forward for more updates. So it's that time again. We're going to take a quick break while we get our next team in the studio. So we will be back shortly with more Lag Jam recap action. Hello and welcome back to Lady Arcaders. We are here tonight showcasing game development from the first few hours of our first ever Lady Arcaders Game Jam, aka the Lag Jam. Joining me now in the studio is trainer Anade and Selkuth Mind from Team Pasta Productions. Welcome in. How are you two doing?
Doing good. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Tozzle.
Oh, you're so
So-
welcome. So excited to see what you have today.
So we're going to give you a bit of sort of a taste of what our game is about, and then we will, on each of the following nights, we'll give you a little bit more. So for tonight, we're introducing our game Compartmentalize by Posture Productions. So I am trainer Anade. I am dealing with a lot of the background art and like object art, as well as the team management. Aria is our programmer, our developer.
And then you've got me, Selkuth Mind. I am our level designer, and I'm responsible for our music and audio. And then we have Sweet Peeps, who is doing our story writing, as well as the character art.
So our game takes inspiration kind of from Legend of Zelda Dungeons and Sokoban games. The original Sokoban being, if you don't know, because I didn't originally know, a puzzle game where you have to push boxes around to get them into specific spots. So our genre is a narrative Sokoban-like puzzle game. So the Sokoban aspect is the puzzle, pushing objects around, that grid-style movement. And then the Legend of Zelda is that top-down perspective, getting through each room to progress, and then having to complete the puzzle of each room to kind of, you don't actually get a key, but equivalently, um, being able to move on. So the important mechanics on our game are we're going to have 2D movement. So up, down, left, and right. You will push objects around the various rooms. You have to get crates to the targets. Important aspect is that you can reset each room at any point. Once you have moved on, though, and this one maybe we're either going to have a level select, or it's going to be once you complete a room, you just move on. And then, of course, avoid obstacles on the way, and the obstacles will vary as you get further on. And then to read notes, because that's an important part of our game.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
our game summary. Oh, did you want to share?
I was going to say that reset is very important. If you've never played a Sokoban puzzle game before, you can very easily get stuck. This is just the nature of Sokoban, and as you get more used to it. So one of the first things that we made sure we had was a reset function, because you're gonna need it. I promise I'm not making the puzzles too hard.
So the game summary for like the story is our protagonist is going through a hard time and going on a journey to help themselves, following in the footsteps of someone who's completed the self-discovery puzzles before them by pushing and going around objects. So the theme, of course, being lag, we're incorporating through our character going on a healing journey, receiving messages from the last person to go on the same journey. So if there's time, we hope maybe by the end of these 4 days we'll be able to add in an extra aspect of the player themselves can leave notes sort of for the next person. But at minimum, we're going to make sure that there's going to be the story is going to be and hints about the puzzles and things like that are going to be delivered through these lagging messages from the last person to go on that journey.
And there'll be a few other ways that lag will be incorporated as well. Some of the puzzles have some lag-like elements. I'm planning to introduce some lag-like elements into the music as well. But predominantly, it's coming through this story, the story mechanic, essentially.
Yes. It's kind of the most obvious one. So a little bit more about the game is our main character is literally anyone, purposefully designed as raceless, genderless, just kind of a person in sort of a snug hoodie. And the point is that anyone can go on this kind of journey, this journey of healing and discovery. You will hear more details of story from the last person to complete the journey, but you personally, could have any story and be going through this. So one really important part that also happens to work with my skill set is that it's a very simplistic design in general. So the layers instead of dungeons are simplistic, so you can focus on the journey and your goal. And then, so we're going to have 4 main layers. The hills being our first simple area that's, maybe has a little bit of denial built in, followed up with the ice, which maybe has some dissociation built in with things become maybe a little slippery and heavy, and you need to start being careful. That next layer is the flames, and there's anger and fire are constants. And then our final area is going to be the finale, putting all of these previous things you've learned together and proceeding on getting past this part of your journey. So obviously that's just very basics. There's not a lot we shared just yet. But if you have any questions, Tozzle.
You know what? I don't think that was basic at all. That was a whole journey. Like that is, I mean, I think you've got a full game there already. Like that's amazing. I'm really impressed. I'm hope that I'm not. I know I'm the host, but I'm really hoping that on Sunday I'll also get to play these games after. I'll be like the first one at itch.io downloading them all. Yeah. So okay. Sorry, I digress. For the journey path, so I know you have these 4 areas.
Yes.
Are you planning? Are these going to be individual puzzles? Like, are you trying to do 4 complete puzzles, or do you think like the hills might have multiple puzzles and multiple notes? Like, is each area going to have multiple puzzles in your vision, or what do you
Yeah, I
think?
can add to that as our level designer.
Absolutely great.
So every area is going to have 5 to 6 puzzles.
Ooh.
Because it is sort of like we have that inspiration from the Legend of Zelda dungeons where there's multiple rooms, right? And ultimately you're solving the puzzle in the case of Zelda to find a particular item at the end of it. We're not going back and forth between rooms. This is a linear progression through each room, but it's the same thing of we're going through multiple puzzles in the area, building the story, building difficulty, gaining more confidence and more aptitude with the puzzle mechanics for each area. And every area has some slightly different things. Like there'll be some recurring ones, So, for example, we do have barrels that can be pushed around. These don't unlock anything. You have to use a crate to unlock things. But these are barrels that can be moved, unlike rocks, which can't be moved. And those get introduced and are heavily featured in the hills, but you're still going to see them a little bit in the ice and the flames. So
Yep.
you're going to get to see recurring elements as you go.
And so, sorry, you first, Nade.
Oh, well, and I just wanted to say, and Cell hasn't shared that she already has designed the first 5 rooms of our first layer for the hills and has
They are
already started
playable.
working on rooms for the ice. So like she has got this.
The
Wow.
hills is fully playable. There is no audio in it yet because I spent today working on level design. Audio is going to be me being late night degen tonight. But I also have the first 3 puzzles for the ice made as well. So I think I have
that's very neat.
7 puzzles left to make, and then the finale puzzle. Don't talk to me about the finale puzzle yet. I am terrified. That's going to be my big boss to fight first. So just know if you play this, I will have suffered before you. So
Well, that's for a later recap session where you can give us some of the trials and tribulations about the finale. Um, so you were saying that you're expecting the puzzles to get more difficult between the sections and within each other. Is that the general
yeah,
flow?
so they build up. I can speak a little bit of the hills because again, I have all the puzzles for that area designed. The first one is a very simple tutorial. It is literally just introducing you to the concept of Sokoban. Many people I know have not ever played a Sokoban puzzle game before. And so just get you a little familiar with the mechanics, get you a chance to recognize that, hey, I can press R to restart, because you probably will need it. It's very easy to get stuck in Sokoban puzzles. It happens to me, even with a lot of experience. And then it gets a little bit more advanced. We start to see new traps and obstacles appear. I have a level where I teach you that, hey, sometimes things get flipped around and not as you might expect. Barrels are already mentioned as an obstacle. Sometimes there might be multiple crates, and you have to figure out which crate's the correct one to solve the puzzle with. Things might get mirrored. There might be slippery tiles, where if you put an object on it and it will follow the slide until it reaches the end of the slippery tiles. Different mechanics planned. For the flames area, we're thinking about having a fire block. You can't touch it directly. So how are you going to be able to move it to solve the puzzle?
Oh,
But
that's
they
great.
get harder and more elements as you go through each area.
So I'm always everyone that knows me jokes to me about how I feel. I love tutorials. Like I'm a huge tutorial fan. So they're like my favorite part of the game. Are you thinking? Are you doing a combination of learning by doing and pop-ups, or are you going to have and for the first stages actual text that says? Well, I know you said you'll have the R to reset, but for movement, are you planning pop-up instructions? Or is it going to be more
So
about learning by failure?
a lot of Sokoban is best learned by learning by failure.
Okay.
That's that. But within the story, and Anada, if you want to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was gonna say, and that is what Sweet Peeps has really been doing, is spending a lot of time working on the story. Um, and there, so you're learning the story of the person who previously went through this journey, but part of that is also giving hints and tips kind of about what to do in this next puzzle as well. So it's both that narrative story part and it's some idea about, okay, what are you doing next? And also part of it is, one of the reasons why we're not just doing like 1 or 2 rooms is in each new layer, there's at least, 1 room to kind of introduce you to the new mechanics that exist. So
That's
it
very
is a
neat.
bit of learning from the game, but also like playing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little bit hands-on, and then if you're like I'm gonna air quoting, no one can see me, but if you're like paying attention to what you're being told, you might have a better approach to the next level if you're, really
Yes.
reading what you're being told. That's really fun. I love a puzzle game. So that's very cool. And I also learned just today from you about Sokoban style. I've definitely played them. I had no idea that there was a name specifically for them. So that is really, really neat. Do you, I guess, if, while we're wrapping things up, do you have
Mhm.
any wins or aha learning moments or shout outs to your team that you would like to highlight from your work today? Honestly, I think you've done a ton of work here. This is very neat.
I
I'm
mean,
very impressed.
I want to shout out my whole team. We all started we all hit the ground running, and honestly, the fact that we technically have a playable game now, it's obviously not as far as we want, but we have story for the first layer. We have art for the first layer. We're starting to get music and sound for the first layer. We have all of the puzzles designed. We have all of the programming, like and we are, I don't know, I'm very proud of all of us as a team coming together and just like hitting the ground running, getting this done. I'm excited about all of these games, but I'm extra excited about our game and that it feels like this might be possible to even finish in the game jam time. Like it's not going to be easy, but I think we can finish it, you know.
Oh, we definitely can.
I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. I'm really like I expected that everyone would be amazing, and everyone has like exceeded my expectations by like blowing me out of the water one after the other. Like I don't I'm very impressed, and I'm very excited to see more of what your team has to share with us leading up to the final showcase on Sunday. So this is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, thank you both so much, Anade and Sel, for joining us. We are going to again take a little break while we get our next and final team in the studio. So please don't go too far, but grab some snacks, water, use the washroom, do some self care, and we will be back shortly for more Lag Jam recap soon. Hello and welcome back to Lady Arcaders. We are hosting our first ever Lady Arcaders Game Jam, aka the Lag Jam, and our first ever Lady Arcaders Game Jam event recap. The Lag Jam officially kicked off this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and teams have until Sunday, November 17th at 8 p.m. So that's about 82 hours total to develop and submit their games for a final showcase on that Sunday. For those of you who are new to the Game Jam scene, a Game Jam is an event where groups of people of varying skill levels in graphics design, programming, writing, music composition, you name it, come together to work on making a game from scratch. And the theme for this Game Jam is lag. Teams are encouraged to take lag as a concept literally or figuratively, or I almost said like literal figuratively, and use it however they wish to guide their game creations. Joining me now in studio is our final team for this evening. Please welcome in Quacksilver, Metroid Crime, and Bunniest Bunrina from Team Recursive Ducks. Welcome in. How are y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing so great. Thank you, Tozzle. Hi, friends. This is Team Recursive Ducks. The casing is extremely important. I'm Quacksilver. I'm joined by multi-hyphenate Lady Arcader's royalty Metroid Crime.
Hi, I'm Metroid Crime, and I'm so happy to be here. This is my first game jam, and it's been really cool so far.
And I am also joined by the most genre-savvy person on the face of the planet, Bunniest Bunrina.
God, did I make it in time?
And this is
Did I
our
make it?
extremely normal design presentation. We'd
Oh,
love to talk to you.
good. All right. Sorry, I went out for booze.
Also not present, but very much supporting Team Recursive Ducks are our pals Ari and Ina, the latter of whom is asleep right now because it is very, very early in the morning in France. And we are here to talk to you today about our Game Jam game, Depth Blind. Depth Blind is a underwater cyber eldritch sapphic shoot 'em up. And my humble hope is that by the end of this short presentation, we will have been able to unpack that extremely packed tagline. In Depth Blind, you play as Mari, pictured here in her lightly Pikmin chic official Galactic Union adventuring uniform, a deep sea and also space captain, exploring the depths of an underwater cave on a planet at the outer edge of the galaxy after a previous expedition takes an unexpectedly violent turn. You are accompanied at all times, not in body, but via technology and in spirit, by your eye in the sky, and also your partner, Anna, who is accompanying you at all times via a little camera drone. A little bit as we get into it, we've some of the things we've been doing in the early parts of the day are talking about the world of Depth Blind. We've set this far, far out in the future, in a galactic union comprised of multiple sentient races, including humans. You've been, as I mentioned, dispatched to the underwater depths of an alien planet following a violently disastrous previous expedition there, and we sort of wanted to both play on an eldritch horror theming that we'll sort of unpack with graphics in a little bit, as well as just classic shoot 'em up sort of things. If you're familiar with the genre, you know already there are going to be approximately 100 billion bullets on the screen. It sort of naturally lends itself to the core theme of lag, just by virtue of how it works, as well as choosing an underwater setting deliberately for that. And we ask the following questions, which you can see. Why does a planet on the outer rim contain sentient life at the bottom of the ocean? Why does that life have what looks almost like Union weaponry, adapted for their circumstances? What are they planning, and why did they kill explorers on sight? All these questions, and time allowing, potentially more or fewer, we hope to answer by the end of this game jam. And while I could talk about the world and our ship of characters here, I think perhaps better is to talk a little bit more about mechanically why we went with a shoot 'em up by handing it over to the most shoot 'em up inclined person I know, Rena, to talk a little bit about our ship that we pilot, as well as show some art for that. So, Rena,
Yes.
why don't you talk about Mari's craft?
Absolutely. So, my greatest apologies for forcing my agenda on an entire group of people. But that aside, I'm happy to say that you're in good hands. I've been playing shmups for too long, as you could probably tell by my endless submissions to Lady Arcaders. And our goal is to emulate that sort of, not necessarily extremely old school, but that vaguely early 2000s shoot 'em up sci-fi enjoyability that comes from a lot of the earlier cave games and stuff like that. Of course, for our ship, we've got our 3 shot types here, which should look very familiar. You've got your spread, you've got your big laser, and you've got your homing missiles. There's nothing too special here. The reason we, of course, wanted to go in to shmups and this sort of stuff for Lag Jam is, of course, because lag is pretty much almost a core identifier and, like, game mechanic, almost, for shmups already. A lot of the original cave shoot 'em ups were designed with the way that they lag in mind. Of course, with how many bullets get put on screen and how much there is to, process. A lot of the times, they would design these games specifically so that they would lag out their own hardware to make it a little more manageable and a little more reasonable to dodge certain patterns and stuff like that. Otherwise, they'd just be moving too fast. So it seemed like almost a perfect a perfect fit for lag jam. Likewise, it'll tie into our main scoring mechanic. Next slide.
I got you. I got you.
Our our main scoring mechanic is going to follow a tether system. We wanted to come with something that felt uniquely ours, while still harkening back to some of the classics. For our scoring system, you are given an independent tether that you can shoot out and capture enemies with. You can capture up to 5 enemies at a time, and when you have an enemy tethered, shooting that enemy down will get you more points. It looks like it's a multiplier. I promise it's not just a base multiplier. Maybe it is. We'll get there. We're sorting out the numbers. The idea, of course, being that you try and keep 5 enemies tethered at all times, as best you can, and shoot them down sequentially for maximum points and all that fun stuff. You'll be going throughout the whole stage doing that. Sorry, did you?
I was just gonna say we wanted to strike a balance between shoot 'em ups being naturally revolving utterly around bullets and also finding ways for this to be slightly more exploration focused, not in terms of literal exploration, but in terms of the narrative, and to really focus in on the relationship between our 2 partnered characters. And so the idea that we have a absolutely critically knowledge obsessed companion character who are sending data on what eldritch horrors lurk at the bottom of the ocean to was really appealing narratively, while also rounding out our scoring mechanics and sort of scratching that like grinder, speedrunner, etc. itch. Was something that really got all of us fired up.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I guess to finish off the scoring discussion, the main drawback, of course, going for score, is that when you tether an enemy, they stay place and input, so you can properly hold them in place and shoot them down, all that fun stuff. But of course, with the enemy staying on screen, that means they're still shooting at you. So it will give you more to dodge and often make patterns a lot harder to manage. With the benefit, of course, being that delicious number going up. Ooh, don't you love that number?
Always. Uh, we also have some pixel art. I am not the visual art brains. That is actually both Rena and Crime here. These are some pixel art designs by Rena of just sort of generally the ship, as well as one of our 3 main weapons.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the toothpaste laser. It's just a cool laser. Sorry, I only draw cool lasers. Maybe I'll make a toothpaste in the future. But we could make one red, one blue. That's like Colgate coated, right? Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
extremely.
That's
yeah.
satisfied. Okay. All right. I'll talk to someone about that.
Or maybe that's an upgrade. Are you planning to upgrade your weapons?
No. We don't plan on having any weapon upgrades. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep it succinct. Right now, our plans are for like maybe 1 or 2 stages, given how much time allows. We want to keep this as sort of a very easy like entry point. Pretty much. It's still going to be very hard, mind you. But for a game that's going to be pretty much like 1 or 2 stages, we want to keep the sort of difficulty on dodging and on the scoring, rather than like managing your shot upgrades and punishing players too hard for getting hit and stuff like that. Not what we're going for. We want this to be like a much easier pick up and play game for people who haven't really tried shmups before, because shmups are kind of intimidating for what I've learned. It's kind of
There
hard
are
to get
people
someone on.
with very limited shmup experience on the team. Hi, I'm bad at
Exactly.
video games.
It's all good, but the idea being, because this is going to be such a small game, well, not such a small game. This could be 1/6 of this much for shmup, which is already a lot, but small relative to other shmups. We want to make this one as accessible as possible. and to make it easy to at least give it a try and not quite as daunting because it's just going to be one stage, you know. So it's going to be a lot easier for that, and it's going to be a lot easier to get into the scoring meat of it because there's not going to be as much to memorize. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So question. So since you're in on the scoring aspect of the shmup, like for this game jam and for when the game, like I'm talking end game. I know I'm talking days down the road, but I'm just curious now. Like, are you anticipating that like once you complete the level be final, or will it like sort of can you continue? Because if it's score based, you want to try to get the highest score. Like, can you play endlessly? Will it loop? Like, are those things that you're thinking about, or how do you anticipate this being fleshed out for score
They
wise?
are sort of broadly on our minds, I think. It's one of the interesting things because the parts of this that are very glommed onto, for lack of a better word, among the team, we have a particular story bent, this sort of tragic romance thing that we want to develop, which is very much, I think, in the genre about finality, and then we also want it to be mechanically appealing and something you can sink your teeth into and really grind a whole bunch. We've already talked generally about making sure that all of our like dialogue conceits and barks and all of that stuff is ultimately skippable for people who really want to grind it, or like ignorable to like if you want a pure focused mechanical shmup experience. We hope, time allowing, we hope to be able to like deliver on that, knowing that we are stapling together two things that are interesting and personally exciting to staple together, but are a little bit playing along the edges of the genre. As far as total replayability, unsure. I think that's a scope question for once we settle into our pace a little bit more. Right now, the goal is to make it a very clean shoot 'em up experience.
Yes.
And let that stand on its own accord.
Pretty
Yeah, that's
much.
awesome.
We don't have plans for looping. I personally have a big distaste for second loops. They always make me mad. My thought is always like, I just got done with the game. It took me like 30 minutes and you're telling me to sit down for another 40, except it's going to be harder and I have to memorize more things. No, stop it. You're getting ahead of yourself. I sat down for 30 minutes. I'm not playing 40 more.
It's
So
it's
we
a very
want this
weird.
to be, yeah,
Go ahead. As I say, it's a
yeah,
very weird philosophical thing with like score attack grinding, I find, where you reset the game of your own accord 8 billion times, but when the game resets on you, it can lead to a feels bad.
but we want this to be more of a, I don't want to say a caravan style game, but more of like a caravan style game where the focus is sort of on this like burst of exciting shmup action that is replayable for its mechanics alone, and all the fun numbers going silly going up,
Yeah.
and sort of providing like a sort of short, succinct, and highly replayable by its nature of being short and succinct uh, type of game feel. We want people to come back because it's just really fun, and the number can always go higher. And if they do, then that will mean we made a pretty good game.
So that's really I love hearing that input because I'm always curious of like what aspects of these games like you incorporated because you loved, or what aspects of the game you're leaving out because you're not a fan of, which you've just highlighted very eloquently. So if you are focused on score, will there be? I'm asking, I know against questions, but are you playing around with like a high score screen then, or?
Absolutely. If we don't have
Hey,
a high
cool.
score screen, I will be deeply upset.
I'm gonna add that to the list to make sure we get it like when we had to add a list item for the pause menu.
Yes, we need a high score screen. Otherwise, well, there won't be a complete team after it. But yeah, we're gonna be all in on that sort of stuff. And hopefully they'll be very fun to share your high scores amongst your friends and fam. I can't say that with a straight face. You're not showing your family.
But
No.
speaking of showing your family, I'd love to give the floor over to Crime, because one of the other things that was immediately lashed onto at our first brainstorming meeting was sort of a rather unique approach to the aesthetic of the game and how we design it. So Crime, you want to talk about some of the cool mixed media stuff you've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we I kind of had this idea to split up the type of textures and sprite work that we're using for enemies versus obstacles versus our player character and any sort of devices our player character might have. So, the environments are basically this mixed media combination of like fabrics, hopefully watercolors, various different like bits and bobs from real life that are being purposed to make up enemy types and such. And if you hit the next
Yeah,
slide,
I can sort of scroll through here. We've also got some bullets, both ours and enemies.
Yep. So we have a bunch of different like concepts there. You can see like the 3-frame animation of like what a bullet could look like from an enemy. And it's I think it's going to be interesting also like in order to kind of split up visually. Like I find some people find shmups like a little bit difficult because of how many things are happening on screen, but having like a visual distinction of like this is friendly and this is what I should be looking at versus here's what the enemy looks like. I think will help a lot of people in just their focus for shmups in general for this game. Um, and on the next slide, I have also like a little concept for an enemy that I was like putting together. So just like a whole bunch of mixed fabrics and
Crochet.
beads and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I crocheted those before. Those
Yep.
little arms. Yeah.
Nothing says Eldritch Horror like a little crochet.
Yeah. So, like the concept of playing with like, hoping to do some like needle felting as well to make these like kind of like aquatic looking, mix of aquatic and like eldritch horror type things. I think of like, almost like how I don't know the like end of Undertale like the for the like the good ending where you have to go through all like the flowy stuff and like how weird that style is compared to like everything else, or like thinking about like Madoka Magica and how they have those sections that are just like these really realistic paintings in the background versus like different type of anime art. I really like that type of contrast. um so yeah, it's really cool to be able to implement that. I used to do a lot of textile work, so I have a whole bunch of extra like fabrics that I've dyed and like bits and bobs, and I'm really excited to use it all. Yeah.
We hope it'll make a material difference to the shmup play experience. This pun was not approved by anyone else on the team.
You gotta clear this with me first.
Sorry.
Come on, I
Go
I
back.
didn't bring
I
enough
didn't say anything.
booze for that. I only got 7 bottles, friend.
But yeah, I think that's about it. We hope to have we've started working on like level designs as well, sort of in the vagaries, sort of getting our enemies vaguely boxed in, and also Ina, who is not here because of incompatible time zone, has been hard at work and sort of just getting like basic core programming of like what are bullets really online, and so the hope is to start having some fun prototypes maybe as early as tomorrow. I don't let me get too ambitious here, but I think that's basically all we got.
I have a question. This might be, I mean, a very obvious question, but I don't understand how this works. So I'm curious of the answer, and maybe you're able to explain this to me. So how does one, like in this day and age, program lag? Like, is it purposeful sub-optimization, or is it like optimized optimization? Like, how does
Well,
this even work? I'm very curious.
that is a question for a poor programmer.
Yes.
My idea immediately, if I was to throw ideas to get an answer out, personally, I would just keep track of how many bullets are actually on screen or how many entities are on screen. and sort of slow down the like a global game tick, depending on how much is on screen. That's just me. Uh, Unfortunately, I cannot speak for Ina, as they are not here to shoot me down. So you'll have to take it all with a grain of salt. But just some like sort of ideas, and it's a question that a lot of shoot 'em up developers have actually had to tackle with. Mostly those that are focused on porting some of those older games, because of course, as stated before, the lag is sort of built into the design of the game. So modern emulation running it at full speed doesn't. It makes certain games I don't want to be mean, but deeply unplayable and not fun. So, a lot of the challenge for some of those devs that are working on porting those older games is getting that accurate slowdown and sort of asking that exact same question of their development teams. Like, how do you actually like now that we can run these things fine? How do we put it back in? Because a lot of it, in the old days is hardware dependent. They were just
Yeah.
using the same boards, so they just always were like, yeah, don't like 200 entities on the screen, it'll do it. But you know, for the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so for developers, it's been sort of I imagine it's been a bit of an uphill battle trying to get arcade accurate slowdown back in these games, and has made porting jobs even more of a hassle than they already would be normally. That is say, we got this. This is easy clap. We're not worried.
Only 70 hours were made. No, it's really really neat. There's been such like a wide variety of genres that have been showcased tonight that it's really neat to see how everyone has taken the lag concept and has already like implemented so many like fantastic ideas for their games. It's really 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 wonderful, and I'm so happy that you all are here showcasing your recursive ducks game. I feel like it needs like
Yeah.
an echo or something. You say
I
recursive
yes.
ducks.
You say recursive ducks like 4 or 5 times in a row.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
that bit will age great.
Look, I'm here. I'm all here for it. This whole weekend, I'll be here for it. So you'll have one fan at least with the echoing theme. Um, I've been asking all of the teams this. Do you have any wins or like aha learning moments that you would like to share for highlight from your work today? Anything that you didn't expect that went better, or even vice versa?
I got to build a program today, so that was fun. In a language
Hey,
that I hadn't done before, so that was kind of cool.
Ooh, what
it's
language
Um,
was
been
it?
it's the language that we're writing in, so it's the love programming language. So Eno wanted someone to test it, and she was like, "I don't know if this is gonna work on Mac," and I'm like, "I'll try it. I have a Mac," and it did. So, yeah, that was kind of
Hey.
cool. It's a nice moment.
I don't know. It's actually been really interesting. Everyone's been like really on board. Like
Yeah.
really, really on board. I'll just say some stuff, and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure," and then it will be done. And that's so wild to me. That's never happened before.
You didn't think we could get that in here when we're not doing speedrunning on the channel right now, but we got it in here anyway.
It's like because I know I'm coming in here as the absolute fanatic who has too much to say about too little. So I'll tell them a bunch of stuff and I will yap forever, and they're like, "Yep," and then they'll like get a product that fits my description exactly what I was looking for. I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Say psych now, pinch me.
Yeah,
This
it's
can't
it's
be
really
real."
cool. It's really cool. I love like we've been collaborating like so well, and like it's just been a really amazing time. Like even just watching this whole thing as we've been working tonight,
Yeah,
seeing everyone's games. Oh my god, it's like I'm just like squealing over
Yeah,
here, like oh my god, I
I'm hyped
cannot
as a
wait.
player.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my face hurts from grinning. I've been smiling this whole time.
absolutely. but yeah, it's kind of weird. We haven't had any like surprise aha moments because I've said things and like nothing has surprised me because it all fits perfectly exactly as I imagined it. And I was like, oh, it's beautiful. And the worst part is that they have to interpret my mindless scribbles and they're good at it. I boot up I boot up MS Paint and I like put like 15 minutes in and I'm like, yeah, this looks about right. And for some reason, I don't know how they decipher it. It's madness. It's complete chicken scratch. The ramblings of a mad woman, but apparently I've got some good translators here, which I am super humbled about because I realize I am a lot ideas girl in the most derogatory way possible. So it is wonderful to have so many people who are so on board and so hilariously competent at everything that they do. It's honestly a little humbling. I don't know what I'm doing here. I just happen to know how to play shmups. How did I land this gig, bros?
Well, that's incredible. I I don't want to step away from this, but
Oh,
I
it's okay.
must
We got a
ask,
few hours.
do you exactly, do you want do you have any final comments or maybe even the direction your team's planning to head tomorrow before we head to a quick break?
I think
Sure.
I think tomorrow the plan is to try and sort out our end game, which I feel like we all sort of have collectively caught a vibe, and sort of getting down to brass tacks about exactly who our boss is, what that looks like both in terms of mechanically and for the story, and like figuring out exactly on a very tactile level what the end is something that's on my mind right now.
Ooh, so maybe that's for tomorrow's event recap.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I've
Very
also
cool.
been sketching away, doing some level design. I got something out, and essentially a lot of my next steps is finalizing a lot. Is just finalizing everything. Is getting some final UI design done. Finalizing what the background's supposed to look like. The stuff I could actually work on, maybe actually do some music. We'll see. But sort of get out of that like scribble phase and into the nice pixel art phase, and sort of get some of those ideas from the paper to the actual engine, and sort of pray from the bottom of my heart that the absolute madness that I've put in front of Ina and sold off as tangible work to be done uh, does in fact does in fact translate well enough, and we can get this thing super rolling and maybe even something playable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just wonderful. I just have to say, like, really, truly, thank you so much again, Quacksilver, Metroid Crime, and Bunniest Bun Rena. I really,
Ah,
really enjoyed the recap of today's work. I'm definitely excited to learn more tomorrow and to see what else you have to show us throughout this event. But with that, we are going to take a quick break. So please do those. Stay tuned shortly for some final day one Game Jam recap event comments, which will be coming up next. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up our first Lady Arcaders Game Development Jam nightly recap session. A big thank you to all of the teams who joined us this evening to share their game progress with us. It was a pleasure to have you on Lady Arcaders this evening. Keep up the amazing work, and we look forward to hearing and seeing how your games develop over the next few days and throughout the weekend. I am so excited. I was blown away with what was showcased tonight. I cannot wait. For those of you out there who may be interested in keeping up to date with our events, Lady Arcaders has a newsletter where you can read articles written by our members and find out what our community is doing. You can visit ladyarcaders.com/newsletter or type !newsletter in the chat for a quick link. Please note that the Lag Jam Nightly Recap number 2 will be live tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. Eastern here on the Lady Arcaders Twitch stream. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you are too. With that, we are going to send all of you lovely folks on a raid over to Pleasantly Twisted. I will see you all tomorrow evening. Have a good night.